Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you happen to be listening to us on iTunes right now, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. I appreciate them. I read them. I appreciate all the 5-star reviews. You know what? I'm going to read one today. Let's pull one up. Because this is going to be a Friday show, and I like to read them on Friday. Here we go. Ooh, great convos with great guests. This is from Mayor McDickcheese. An excellent variety of guests, from adult stars to competitive eaters to comic book artists. Chrissie brings the people together. Bring on Jalix Aeons. Oh, looks like they're trying to write in code there. All right, thank you, Mayor McDickcheese. Without further ado, I'm so happy to have this gal back on the podcast today. She was on a couple of months ago, I think when I was last in Texas. That might have been in May. And she was such a hit. She is the producer and also very much on Slightly Offensive with Elijah Schaefer here at The Blaze. She also has her own podcast called Rapid Fire, which you can check out on Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. Savanah Hernandez, thank you so much for joining me.
Chrissie, thank you so much for having me. I always have the best time on this show with you, so I'm really excited. And again, I always have to compliment your interviewing skills because you're such an easy person to talk to.
Oh my God, thank you. I just didn't want to waste my hair and makeup.
No. Hey, that's fair, okay? Makeup is so expensive, and I don't think a lot of people realize it, you know? So utilize your full face.
I think I was at one level with makeup where I would go to Sephora and I would consult with the gays, and they turned me on to eyebrow pencil, and they turned me on to, applying your blush like a 3 on your face.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do with like bronzer and blush. But when I came here to the Blaze, we were recording at the lovely and beautiful Blaze Studios out in Texas. The makeup ladies here are like next level.
Oh yeah. They have so many different products. They really do. They're the sweetest as well. So that's always nice.
They are the sweetest, and they let me ramble about all the bitches in my life. No,
That'll happen to the best of us.
About?
Really,
everyone loves me. So Savanah, people loved you on your last episode was your first episode. It was your cherry popping episode, and people loved hearing about your Alex Jones stories. They found it very fascinating hearing about somebody who had worked for him.
Yeah, Chrissie, just because I had to check and see, how our episode was doing on your YouTube channel, I saw that our clip is one of your most popular clips, and I was just, I felt so happy, and I just, felt so supported by your base. So shout out to the Chrissie Mayr supporters on YouTube. I love you guys so much.
Yeah, and if you like me and you like what's happening here, you need to go on and subscribe to Savanah's podcast. And you're able to do something which I am trying to get better at, which is just ranting by yourself. I don't want to call it ranting. I mean, like you're very well researched and you're very knowledgeable, but you can hold your own by yourself. Your podcast now has just been like you for an hour plus, just talking about the news and things that piss you off.
Yeah, exactly. It's called Rapid Fire because I basically try to go through as many news stories and articles and headlines and just straight up bullshit that's going on in America as quickly as I can. So Rapid Fire with Savanah Hernandez, you can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, basically anywhere you can find podcasts. And it's funny because we were talking about how you want to know how to rant and learn how to rant by yourself for an hour, but I want to learn how to interview people. So we kind of have the opposite problem here, Chrissie.
I think we need to come together and share our powers.
We do. We just need to merge into one perfect being. My skin tone, your hair color, like we would be unstoppable.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There is not that there's like a lack of females here at the Blaze, but there's not as many as dudes, which is...
That'll happen in media.
There's Sarah Gonzalez, right, and obviously in conservative media, and you work with a lot of, and I don't want this. I love white guys. They have been all of my boyfriends, so
Same.
I'm not here to shit on white guys. I wanted to know, how does it, well, that's the thing is you don't sort of like front yourself like I am this POC. You're just a person. You're not like out there telling everybody, oh, I'm half Hispanic, half Asian. I totally forgot even.
No, that's basically it, girl. You got it.
You're like, I can fold clothes and I tan well.
Yeah, find me at a sweatshop or at the border. I know. I'm awful. I'm
like,
awful.
how do I not be stereotypical and racist to your face?
No, it's fine. It's fine. Honestly, I love rice. That's the Asian side of me. And I've always wanted to own a lowrider. Those are both very true things about me. So there you go.
Do you ever feel like you're one of a few women who work at the Blaze, and you also work with a lot of you know, Elijah Schaefer, John Doyle, they're great guys, they're smart guys, but do you ever feel like you can't always say how you feel? Or I mean, we all get annoyed with the people we worked with, but like, do you ever feel like, you know, you can't always go along with everything they're saying, or that the part of you that is a woman, like not a white woman, sort of feels like stifled?
I don't think it's stifled so much, but I think in regards to my own politics, my own show, what I like to talk about, I don't like focusing on racial division because I feel like it does nothing for our country. I don't really like talking about racial issues because there is so much more going on that affects everybody equally. For example, a lot of the laws that are being passed, our Congress, what's going on right now with COVID, with vaccine mandates, you know, all across the world and all across America, these are issues that are impacting everybody. And so I like to preach a message that basically people need to wake up and realize that this isn't Republican versus Democrat versus libertarian versus liberal versus blah, blah, blah. It's American versus elite. And so I think in regards to, I guess, working here at Blaze, working in conservative media, I just sometimes take a different approach to what is talked about politically, and that's the difference with it. So, I mean, because we were talking too about how it is being a woman who is brown in the conservative space, and just with a lot of the racial issues that are talked about, because clearly there is a big movement right now in America to demonize white people, and I completely agree with that, and I see it, and I have called it out extensively on my show as well. Last year, I went and I reported on all the BLM and Antifa events, but like I said, I think that it's more divisive to talk about these issues if you're not bringing it up from a statistical standpoint and really trying to highlight that this is something that affects everybody, both Black, white, and Hispanic and Asian. You know, everyone's affected by it. So I think it's just kind of like a difference in angling in that way.
And it seems just like, well, right, it's really us versus them being the elites, the globalists, right? And I can't even say the globalists now without hearing Alex Jones.
The globalists. Yeah, exactly. Same. It's an automatic repeat in my head every single time someone says it.
And I'm like, if Alex Jones was a doll, like, and you with like a string in the back that you pull, and he had 5 phrases, like one would definitely be the globalists, one would be like a scream.
The other one would be they're turning the freaking frogs gay.
Turning the frogs gay. Yeah. What are his other catchphrases?
If you want to fight, you better believe you got one. Okay, that's always one of his most popular ones. And then and everyone enjoys when he went on Joe Rogan and he was like, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm kind of retarded. Everyone always loves that one. That one's a classic.
That's definitely going in the doll.
Yeah, that one's going in the doll for sure. We're going to Build-A-Bear right after this.
I think he's an example of someone who was so demonized, so like persona non grata. You can't have him on your show.
Yeah.
And then slowly but surely people started having them on their shows, and they weren't completely taken down. And in fact, like, oh, wow, this one's still, so-and-so had him on, and it's still monetized on YouTube. Like, I don't know if you want to call it, like, I don't know, it's a comeback story, but he went from really, really demonized to he's part of like the common conversation.
Dude, I don't know if you follow this Twitter account, but it is called Alex Jones Was Right.
Oh, yeah.
And you're completely right in the fact that there's an entire movement surrounding Alex Jones being right about things that were once a conspiracy, everything that's currently going on in society today with, like you would say, the elites or the globalists trying to take power over the masses. So you're right. He has had a really big comeback story. He was so demonized. He was one of, I think, the first people to be kicked off of every single platform, podcasting, YouTube, Facebook, take your pick. He's banned from so many different places. But now we're seeing him trend on Twitter at least once a month. I'm constantly seeing his videos on Twitter all the time, and there's entire accounts and entire podcasts dedicated to Alex Jones Was Right because, and you know, a lot of people like to say like, oh, he's a modern day prophet. He's been trying to tell us, prophesize about what's going to happen. And
not gonna lie, I'm kind of retarded.
Yeah, and everyone, you know, demonized him for it, but it's like, damn, look at where we're at. We know that they're making human chimeras, that
which is blending humans with animals, like mating.
Yeah.
How does that even
weird.
happen?
It's so strange, dude. The amount of things that Alex has talked about. And I'm like, bro, you're kind of crazy. Like, please stop. And then, it's happening in the modern day. And here we are. And Alex is just like, I'm not happy being right, but I was right.
The fact that he was right just not about like one or two things, but several things. I think that's what started to crack him open to the public. Like, here's this crazy guy who's rough around the edges, who's not polished, and he got enough things right for the mass, like not everybody, but for a lot of people to take him more seriously and to kind of be like, oh, let's take a second look at who's really in charge. Like, maybe we should follow the money. Like, I think it helped we all helped do our part, but I think he helped to break open a lot of healthy skepticism in the American people.
And look at every single person that the media specifically demonizes, that, let's say, the elitist politicians in our society demonize. If you look at the people that they are attacking and that they are demonizing, it's usually the people that are trying to wake up the masses to what's actually going on in society in regards to our, pharmaceutical systems, in regards to our political system. So, that's kind of always been my thing, especially after working for Alex. It's like, okay, seeing how much the media demonized Alex, anytime the media demonizes anybody in society, I'm like, okay, what are you trying to talk about? And what is this that I need to know about?
Which is kind of leads perfectly into this whole drama with Nicki Minaj that has been popping up this week.
Nicki, she's still the queen. There was that whole beef with her and Cardi B, and now I'm like, Nicki's still undefeated, I suppose, especially with these political views lately.
Isn't that funny that they had this beef and now Nicki kind of represents the questioning masses and Cardi B kind of represents, I don't know, the elite, the system.
Like the satanic debauchery of society.
Yeah. And so for those of you who don't know, Nicki Minaj, she had a baby recently. She didn't want to get vaccinated just to go to the Met Gala, which I'm shocked that they were requiring that. You know what I mean? I just figure anything goes with the elite. Like, if you're, if you're in Hollywood, like, they kind of sweep a lot under the rug.
Let's be honest here. Let's say, a big person really didn't want to, but still wanted to go, and they actually really pushed for it. I'm sure they still would have allowed them to go, to be quite honest with you. Because, again, this is not a confirmed thing, but knowing the elites, knowing the people who are in power and have, a lot of freedom to do basically whatever the hell they want, aka AOC, who attended the Met Gala, while attacking the rich and trying to tax the rich, even though a ticket to that event is $30,000 and then a table is over $250,000. I don't know. I don't even believe that it was really a requirement.
Yeah, and it's like, wow, I don't know. It's just, she doesn't make a very good point. I think she should have shown up in an ill-fitting TJ Maxx dress. She should have, this dress was borrowed. It was from this designer when, the white gown that she showed up in, strapless. It said tax the rich on the back. And it's like, really? That was borrowed? Because that looks like that was custom fit to your stupid little body.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And then, she had her designer there that custom made that dress for her. And, oh my gosh, don't get me started on AOC and all these hypocritical politicians. It disgusts me.
You mean to tell me that the people, because she was wearing like at least $450 earrings, and I'm sure but I just remember that
her shoes were like $600.
Yeah.
I'm like, ma'am, it's my dream to own $600 shoes. I don't yet, because I'm actually a middle class American. But please keep telling me about how we need to tax the rich, aka you.
And she makes, her salary is within the top 10% of earners, and you're telling me really the people who lent her jewelry, how can we prove that they were like, oh no, keep it? Because it's all of the politics in Hollywood have meshed together so perfectly that I'm sure any of these designers associated with outfitting her would have been like, oh no, keep this, you know what I mean? Like, put it on your Insta, just, you'll wear them to future things. And they would do anything to be associated with her. Like, they are all just sucking up to each other.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's all for show. Everything in society is all for show. And I don't know. I get so tired of it. I get so tired of these politicians pretending that they care about the little man, when in reality, if AOC really cared about taxing the rich, she would have been out protesting with her fellow American on the streets of, Washington, D.C. or New York, wherever the hell she wants to be. But no, she was at the Met Gala rubbing noses with the elites to allegedly, rub it in the faces of the rich that she wants to tax them more. But what are you really doing? What she said, it's sparked a conversation.
Yeah, right.
What are we really doing with this girl?
It sparked a conversation. I was in the bathroom. I needed a tampon, and it sparked a conversation of who had one.
Am I right?
Be like, no, this really doesn't say tax the rich. My period came early. Sorry, guys. Oh, that's gross. Yeah. It sparked a conversation in my ass. And you know that like people are kind of looking at her and going, ooh, like awkward. Like we are all the rich. Everyone there is rich.
She was probably like, in the back, like, not you, Kim, not you. You're cool, Kim.
And the rich is already heavily taxed.
Oh, yeah.
They're raising the rates in New York. I think New York income tax for the rich is now up to like, I don't know, 61. It sounded crazy. I think it's 61%.
It wouldn't be surprising to me. I think I was looking up the statistic yesterday, and the overall 1% pay like 40% in taxes across America, not even in regards to these specific states. But it's so funny, too, because many conservatives like to go out on the streets of America and ask people, hey, how much do you think the top 1% pay? And they're like, oh, like 2% of taxes, 3%. And it's like, no, they're paying like upwards of 40, 60%. And people are like, oh, that's quite a bit.
And it's basically like our culture, our society is trying to de-incentivize people to be entrepreneurial. I mean, like successful people who make a lot of money, I think are not going to be like, oh, let me make less money. They're probably just like, where can I move to somewhere with less income tax? I have a few like rich friends. I mean, like, oh, not that close. I mean, they could help a sister out. No, I'm kidding. I'm not a moocher, but
fly
like
me to your private island.
Yeah, they've moved to Pence. You meet people and friends and fans over the years. Like, yeah, one guy, he was out kind of in upstate New York, moved to Pennsylvania. Anthony Cumia, who is head of Compound Media, he's moving to South Carolina. So people are just kind of like up and moving. It makes me really sad for what's happening to New York. And like, I can't move out right now because of like family and work stuff. But, and it's like, oh, am I just conveniently being like, I'm fighting and staying, when it's like, if I'm being perfectly honest, like part of me really would love to like move here to Texas, but it's like, Chrissie, I can't right now.
Honestly, that's the standpoint that I've taken with my political views is get out of the states that you can't change. Like there are blue states like California. I mean, look what just happened with the recall election, like New York, where it's never going to change. They're so overrun with liberals. So go to a state where your vote actually matters, where your voice actually matters, and your quality of life is going to go up exponentially, like Texas, Florida, Tennessee. Go to these specific states. And that's the point that I've gotten to. And dude, when I tell you the amount of rage that I feel in my body and soul, just seeing liberals at the state capitol in Austin, Texas, coming over here and even trying to advocate for abortion or, push back against constitutional carry or bring in these liberal policies. I'm like, get the fuck out of Texas. You don't belong here. And if you're a liberal, get out. And that's the point that I've gotten to. Chrissie, politics has made me so hardened in my heart. Like, I'm a Christian woman, but I do not appreciate liberals coming to my damn state and trying to ruin it and make it look like California, because that's what Austin's starting to look like. It looks ugly over there. I watched that once beautiful city because when I first moved there, again, it was clean, it was cute, tourism was up. Homelessness now smells like piss on the street
They've bust them in
Austin. Yeah,
at one point.
Exactly. So it's frustrating to me because I'm like, this is a beautiful state. This is a beautiful city. Do not ruin it with your bad policies. If you want to come to Texas and enjoy it, please do. I'm all for that. But do not bring your bad policies and do not vote in Democrats and come and ruin what we are trying to keep,
the
nice
oasis, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That's the point that I'm at. Nothing against liberals. I'm a little bit liberal in some of my policies. But also, again, get out if you have bad policies. I'm sorry.
I've been hearing that a lot from like lifelong Texans, like this fear, this concern and anxiety that the state is going to get all fucked up.
Girl, it's already so purple. Look at our last Senate race between Beto and Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz won by like a very, very slim percentage. Very slim percentage. And a lot of liberals are moving to Texas right now because Google has moved over here, Tesla has moved over here. And why is that? Because like we were just talking about, the tax cuts for the businesses here in Texas to incentivize people to come over here to create jobs is so much better than it is in California. And with these big tech companies and all these liberal companies comes all of their liberal employees as well. So, oh girl, RIP to Texas. We'll see what happens within the next decade, but I'm kind of concerned.
It's a lot. It's a lot to make you upset over and frustrated. And it's like, you have to keep it light too. And I don't know.
I know, Chrissy, crack a joke. I've been such a dark cloud today.
let's
Damn, I'm
make a
sorry. I'm like, let's chill here
make
for a
a
second. You
joke.
mentioned Nicki Minaj, and I'm like, but let me tell you about how Texas is going to be ruined.
You know what? I would have respected AOC if she showed up to the Met Gala but didn't go inside and was like protesting outside.
Same. I'm all about the protest.
Even if she wore that same gown, but was like, fuck it, I'm gonna wear this outside the Met Gala with us. She could gather a crowd. You know, she could protest outside the Met Gala. Even in that dress, I would be like, okay, cool. You went out, acquired your own dress.
That's my thing. I'm like, hey, AOC, I always respect a good protest. And like I said, too, I know my previous statement right now was very attack on the libs type thing. But, you know, whether you're left or right, if you do have a solid protest, I respect that. Like, go have your voice heard. But don't go rub noses with the people that you're allegedly protesting. Come on, bro.
It's so inauthentic, which is why I have this newfound appreciation for Nicki Minaj. So I don't know if I said this already, but she was invited, of course, to go to the Met Gala. She did not go. She recently had a kid and didn't want to get vaccinated just to go to this event. She said that she had done her own research. And then, of course, there was this tweet that went viral this week that her cousin in Trinidad was left impotent from it, that his balls were swollen. I mean, of course, like, cue all the swollen ball jokes.
Yeah, there were a lot of them, quite a few.
I think this, was it Joy Reid? Gave her a lot of blowback, this reporter, and she posted a Tucker. I was talking to one of the producers, Brandon, outside. He's like, I can't believe I'm at a point where I'm seeing Nicki Minaj post a Tucker Carlson clip. Like, this is how I know the world is over.
What point of the simulation are we at right now? Good Lord, there's
been a piece of tape in my hair this whole time. Wow.
Oh, I was wondering. I was like seeing you messing
God,
with your hair.
It,
I was like,
really
Chrissy,
visible?
what's happening?
What's happening?
Sorry, guys, we're in a broom closet
like I'm
right
crawling
now.
Around here. Yeah, things get stuck to me.
That'll happen when you have long, beautiful hair, Chrissy.
Thank you. It's all I have. No, it's interesting, and it's people are coming after her for going off script. And my boyfriend Frank was telling me that I think it was on her IG stories that she said, like, look, like 80% of famous people, of celebrities like me, are not for this vaccine. They're just so afraid of being canceled. And at first I was angry. I was like, what good are you? What good are you having fans and followers if, like, you're not going to stand up for what you believe? And then I was like, all right, well, if you have $1 million lifestyle and you're just so afraid, like, maybe they've seen careers be torpedoed. Maybe there are cautionary tales.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. We are at a point in society where you are not allowed to question specific things. You're not allowed to talk about certain things without your entire career, especially if you're in Hollywood, being destroyed. And I mean, that's where we've gotten to. It's very sad to see, but it's not surprising in the least. And everything kind of sucks, Chrissy.
Everything does kind of suck.
And it's a little bit.
And it's interesting. I've been seeing these articles that have been coming out talking about this, and the spin is like almost comical. Like, White House, from Variety, White House confirms it offered to speak with Nicki Minaj about vaccine safety. Sure enough, they invited Nicki Minaj to come to the White House and speak with one of their doctors about safety and effectiveness of the vaccine. Oh, thank God, one of your doctors, man. I'm sure they're not compromised in any way or paid to say a certain narrative.
It's like when the NSA was investigating if the NSA was spying on Tucker Carlson.
Right. Or if, like, the FBI needs to see if the FBI was involved in Jan 6.
Yeah, like, there was FBI agents that set up Gretchen Whitmer's kidnapping plot. We're going to have to get our FBI agents on that one to check it out. Oh, no, that wasn't us. Look the other way.
Wow, it's wild. And this other article I saw from Uprocks, what Nicki Minaj is doing isn't funny. It's dangerous.
Ugh,
really?
So dangerous.
But wait, I thought we weren't supposed to take these women seriously. I thought she's like, she's just a hoe grinding for
Grinding
likes.
for the masses.
Grinding for dollars,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Look at this article blows me away. Nicki Minaj is going to get someone killed. Even if only indirectly. In much the same way a straight line can be drawn between Donald Trump's COVID skepticism and racist incentive against Asian people and the real world harm they caused, Nicki Minaj's anti-vaccine rhetoric is very likely having a devastating, if not immediately visible impact. Lordy. And now the Minister of Health from Trinidad and Tobago is getting involved.
Yeah, apparently he was like, yeah, Nicki Minaj's claims are unsubstantiated. Like, sir, did you check for yourself? Did you check her cousin's enlarged balls to make sure that that wasn't a thing that was happening? And how did you know as well that that wasn't tied to, the jabs?
I'm like, the only check I checked was the check I got to keep saying what everybody else is saying. One sassy news anchor, Nicki's platform is far too large and her influence is far too powerful for her to keep propagating the sort of dangerous messages that have already resulted in so many deaths.
Dangerous.
It's like sometimes I don't know if the media just thinks the American people are just so darn stupid.
Well, some of them are. So, I mean, they can definitely get away with those types of headlines. I mean, CNN just put out a headline today that read, "A vaccinated woman got COVID from an unvaccinated person and it cost her life." And the average dumb American is going to be like, oh my gosh, the unvaccinated are killing all of us. Even though the CDC themselves said that, Rochelle Walensky, who's the CDC director, came out a couple months back, I believe it was in May, and said that if you're vaccinated, you can't spread COVID or catch it. And now apparently the unvaccinated are killing the vaccinated, even though the vaccine is supposed to protect you from dying from COVID. Don't ask me how that science works, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. It's like I saw this tweet from Zuby. He was like, well, I worked out, but in order for me to get like the full effects of my workout, you need to work out too.
Yeah, exactly. Like, sorry, but if you're obese, that could also affect me. So please remember to work out.
Right,
everybody.
because you leave like all of your sweat marks on the machine and then I have to come
it transfers
and wipe
over.
that down.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. It's very deadly. And that's the point that we've gotten to now where the media members are going to, people who are dying in hospital beds from COVID. And they're like, are you dying because of Nicki Minaj's tweet? And they're like,
it's so disgusting.
Yeah, it's because of Nicki. I didn't get vaccinated because Nicki Minaj tweeted that out and now I'm dying in the hospital. And, lucky for us, we have a very, very just amazing media who's going and doing this journalistic work and investigative work. So shout out to them.
To me, it seems like they're upset that the quote other side is playing their game, playing by their rules. The left is famous for using celebrities to push their agenda. They've been doing it for decades now.
Yeah.
So really we can't have not like, I mean, I feel like this was not premeditated. I feel like Nicki Minaj is like, she's going rogue. She's just saying how she feels. Maybe it took her a while to muster up the courage to talk about this, but this is not a choreographed thing. She doesn't have people in her ear. To me, this seems like just she's out. It's messy. But we're going to criticize her for doing the same thing that the left does. The left, like government and Hollywood, have been connected like pretty strongly for decades now.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've seen the full force of celebrity used to combat COVID. We had Olivia Rodrigo telling Americans in the White House to get vaccinated. And again, if you're not on TikTok or 12 years old, who the hell even is that? We've had Howard Stern come forward and say, fuck your freedoms, go get vaccinated.
I feel like all the perm chemicals are getting to his head at this point.
I know. Probably. And I wouldn't be surprised.
I hate to have sympathy for celebrities, but if you look at them and you go, all right, look at what happened to Nicki Minaj. Like, do I want that to happen to me? And hopefully there will be more who come through to realize, hey, like, I can't live with myself in a system that I have to either be part of this machine and be dead inside, or I have to break away. I have to risk losing some income in order to do what's right. And we're starting to see that a little bit more and more. Like for a good month, I wasn't seeing another single stand-up comic come out and say that we're going to perform at like vaccine mandated places. And I just today learned that I have to cancel my shows in Santa Monica because LA County, which I think is also, or Santa Monica is in LA County, is mandating vaccines for performances. So it's like people go, oh, she's no one. She hasn't had to cancel anything. She's not in all the New York City clubs. It's like, all right, well, here I go. These are 4 shows I'm now going to have to cancel and I'm going to lose money. And I had some other things planned for going out there too. I think I was supposed to do Jesse Lee Peterson's show, who I adore, who's hilarious.
Jesse's hilarious. He's so funny. But that's the thing though, Chrissy. It's like, okay, fine, California, New York, you're not going to be able to perform over there. Okay, catch me in Tennessee, catch me in Texas, catch me in Florida. And that's what's going to end up happening. If enough people stand up to this.
Catch me outside.
How about that?
Because that's where you can be without a mask.
No, not in California.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Right.
Not in Portland, Oregon. Not in Oregon as a whole, actually. They just remandated the outdoor mask mandate, which is hilarious because I have a couple friends over there and I'm like, hey, how are things going? He's like, oh, I wouldn't even have known that they passed this because no one's listening to that. And I mean, that's what this is.
That's comforting.
It's a power trip of politicians being like, you can't go outside if you're unvaccinated. Please just stay inside. It's like nobody's listening to that. It's like here in Texas how they're like, masks are optional for the vaccinated. And it's like, I'm pretty sure they're optional for everyone, my guy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's really sad to see how the mask thing has become like kind of such an icky classist thing. Because it's like, I love Chick-fil-A. It's like part of the reason why I like coming to Texas is Elijah's like, let's go to Chick-fil-A. And I'm like, all right, because they have banging iced coffee. And it's like, you look at all the workers, and it's like, all the workers are masked up. Mm-hmm. We see the photos from the Met Gala. All those workers are masked up. Yeah. But like, and I feel bad. I'm like, well, I'm in there ordering from Chick-fil-A, no mask. These celebrities are at the Met Gala. They have no mask. And
Chrissy, but honestly, and this is something that I'll point out, that's their decision. And True. I know that that's like a very harsh thing to say because it's like, oh, Sav, well, they're going to have to sacrifice their jobs and their bills. But we've gotten to the point now where people are being told that if they don't get vaccinated, they're going to lose their job. They're not going to be able to pay their bills. We have a landlord, I believe it's in New York maybe or Florida who's
maybe
right
Florida.
now Florida who is saying, hey, I want to see your vaccination status if you are able to live in my property. And so that's the point in society that we've gotten to because people refuse to say no to the masks. Now, Chrissy, I'm a reporter. Last year was my busiest year in regards to travel. I never wore a face mask. I still don't wear a face mask at every single airport that I go to, whether it's the West Coast to the East Coast because I've traveled extensively. Never wore a face mask, have never been fined, have never gotten, a federal warning.
You've worn it on the plane though, right? Or do you have them throw you off?
I mean, okay, in regards to the plane, because yes, I do have places to be. And this is with TSA too, because I wait for them in the airport to tell me to put a face mask on and I'm like, fine, whatever. So I'll wear it through TSA. As soon as I'm out of TSA, I take it right off. No one says anything to me. Same for the airplane. Sometimes I walked all the way on the airplane or I've sat down and I don't have a face mask on.
Wow.
That's the thing.
Try that. That's ballsy.
Go, just try it, dude. I'm also brown, so there's that aspect.
What did you call me? Did you just call me the N-word? I wish I could say that when people question me about a mask.
Dude, and this is the thing that pisses me off about the masks too. So Elijah's wife and I, and then Sydney Watson, we're all friends. We've gone and hung out before, and people will go up to them to tell me to put a face mask on. This has happened twice with both Kezia, Elijah's wife, and then Sydney. They go up to Kezia and they're like, "Hey, you need to tell your friend to put a mask on," or they'll go up to Sydney and say that, but they'll never come to me directly and tell me to put one on.
Are these people also white, or does it?
I mean, I think they probably are. I have no idea because it's just them telling me.
Strange thing.
Yeah, I think it's because they know they can sense my energy and they're like, oh, this girl will bitch me out so fast, and I will, Chrissy.
They're like, look, I'm not trying to go viral today. Can you just tell your friends?
Exactly. I'm like, I will fight you. I will fight everyone in this whole establishment. Go ahead and try to tell me to put a face mask on because it'll be a whole scientific dissertation about how they don't work. Please.
I guess now that I think about it, I don't mean like, oh, it's a class thing. Like only, like I'm not trying to sound like I think lower class people work at a fast food place. No, I mean, you're definitely right about it
though, because you're right. It's like you're again Met Gala. All the celebrities didn't have to wear a mask, but the workers do. So it is a class thing. And then even going back to my own statement on how it's a personal choice, when I say that too, it's like unless enough people are willing to stand up against it, that's the only way we're going to get out of it. But you are completely right in saying that the elite are exempt from this. And then the average middle American, our children are still having to go to school in face masks. And, they're spraying like chemicals in their classroom every day to keep them safe.
It's freaking gross. Like my sister's a teacher out in Vegas. Like she's been a nervous wreck. Like I was kind of busting her balls because she didn't go to her, school board meeting. I was like, Amanda, you need to go. You need to go and like make some noise. She was
Raise hell,
She
girl.
was like, well, then they know who I am and they know where I work. And like, I get it. Not every mayor is like, comfortable putting themselves out there. Okay. But she didn't go and they passed the thing. And now what? It's like she knows she's not going to get it. So I told her, and she was like freaking out. I'm like, you have to know where you stand on this. If you're like, I realize I'm not getting it. This is my hill to die on. So you just have to like look. Okay, what path does that lead you down? And there are comics who sneak around and have fake cards, and I'm like, what? Why would I do that? Like, can't I stand for something? Like,
well, that's the thing too, dude, because a lot of people will say, well, if you don't want to wear the face mask, just say that you're vaccinated. And I'm like, how about I just, take back my right to breathe free with raw air? How about we just do that? How about we stop allowing the government to overreach on our rights? Because fuck that. I've had enough of it. I had enough of it 2 weeks into this nonsense. After the 15 days, girl, I was full force pushing back against the government because I was like, no, if we don't stop with the face masks, we will ultimately get to a point where we won't be able to do anything. Look at where we're at. Wow. And that's why I'm still like, the face mask in itself is one, a political statement because it just shows us who's subservient to the government in the modern society. And then my little sister as well, she's going through the same thing. She's in the military, in the reserves. She's only 18 years old, and they're threatening her with a dishonorable discharge if she doesn't get the vaccine. And they're basically telling her, if you get dishonorably discharged, you won't be able to get loans, it'll be hard for you to get a civilian job, and your life will effectively be ruined. She's only 18 years old, and she's terrified. And I told her months ago, I was like, you need to make a decision now, because they will force you to do this, and you will have a very hard decision to make. And again, this isn't something that's happening to just my sister or your sister. It's happening to many Americans. But until the masses decide that they're finally tired of this and have had enough and take back their own rights, we will stay in this forever.
Yeah. She was telling me, she's like, I looked up Clark County. I think it's the third largest county in the country, is getting $770 million over the next 3 years from the federal government for like COVID whatever procedures.
My goodness.
And she's like, they're not giving that money to the teachers for salaries, and they're not putting that money towards smaller class sizes. I think she has like 40 plus kids in each class, and this was someone who was like, and I love I can speak freely because nobody in my family listens to this podcast. I'll never go back. It's fine. It's the reason why I got into stand up, because it's like I know I can be honest, and it'll never get back to anybody. But she is somebody who was like a very passionate teacher at one time, like really loved kids, wants to help them,
like actually cares about the youth,
cares about history, like cares about kooky history stories, like would put in like silly jokes. Like I remember one time she was putting up like faces of like famous men or whatever, and it was like Abe Lincoln, Ben Franklin. It was like all these people. Obviously people that are recognizable. And then she showed a picture to the class of a picture of my dad. And people were guessing who that is. One kid was like, Stephen Hawking.
Oh no.
And then she'd be like, that's my dad. So it's like she does funny, kooky, borderline cringy things, but to make the class memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she was talking about like, I guess when the US, or how the US was formed and how it like succeeded from the UK or from Britain or whatever, and she was using the comparison of like a breakup, and she's like I started saying she used hellish stories from guys I've dated and stories from her friends, and like but as soon as she said like breakup, like everyone's the kids, like the heads all turn around because they're like
we feel that, we know those vibes, we know.
Yeah, and I feel so much for her because I can hear in her voice and her tone that her spirit is crushed. Like her love for this job is crushed, and she's like, well, I guess I'm just gonna like go along to get along. And now I think they've like, what was she telling me, that she can't give kids lower than a 50 for a grade? I guess because Vegas is, I think, what was she telling me, number 50 in the states of like education,
really?
So I think Vegas wants to look like their students are doing better than they are. But I guess she's telling, well, the teachers can't give their kids lower than a 50. So it's just, all right, kids are just getting passed up the system. And then what? When does reality finally hit you? When you're out there getting a job? Well, then that's probably too late.
Well, by that point, the Chinese will have already taken over America, in every single way, shape, and form. So we don't have to worry about that. I mean, look at what's going on in Oregon now, too. They're saying that you don't have to have like basic math or reading classes to graduate from high school because some communities are disproportionately affected by that. It's absolutely ridiculous to me. And, getting back to the point, too, about your sister, dude, see, this is why I have such a strong stance politically about specific people being in Texas, because that is what the government wants to do to the average person at this point, is demoralize them to the point of just bending the knee and getting the vaccination. And that's why I have such strong stances politically, and I have such a hard line with it now, because I've watched great people around America who genuinely care about their jobs, care about this country, get consistently attacked, unable to pay their bills. It wasn't enough for the government to shut down our entire economy and to stop allowing people to pay their bills and provide for their families for a year and a half. Now, on top of that, in order to go back to work, you have to get injected with a vaccine that is FDA approved. What else has the FDA approved? A lot of ingredients in our food that are completely illegal in Europe because of how poisonous and dangerous they are to the human body. But let's just, overlook that big thing.
Yeah, lots of carcinogenic chemicals and things.
Exactly. And that's what it is, dude. Like, if you do basic research into, okay, actually, did you know this, Chrissy? If you Google right now, who paid the biggest criminal fine in history, do you know who pops up? Let's see if you're able to get it before I answer.
It just depends on how fast the Wi-Fi is.
Okay.
Is it Pfizer?
Yeah, so
oh boy,
it's Pfizer. If you Google who paid the biggest criminal fine in history, it's Pfizer who paid the biggest criminal fine. And then also Johnson & Johnson had to recall their sunscreens recently because carcinogenic products were found in them. Yes, the same Johnson & Johnson that rolled out that nice little vaccine, the one that's required for you to go to work.
Well, it's tricky. Like they've been slick with their language because I think what was FDA approved was a future Pfizer vaccine or product, but not the one that's currently out right now. But of course, the mainstream media will say, "Oh, Pfizer's vaccine got FDA approval," and it's like, that's not the one that's. I mean, like you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but like I think they were very slick with how they worded what was approved.
Yeah, that's how these things always work, but again, that's why I take such a hardline stance, because I've watched great American people who care, who have worked their whole lives for their dream, for their business, for their career, to have it all taken away from them. And it breaks my heart, and it makes me so furious and upset that the government doesn't fear the people anymore. And that's why we have Joe Biden coming up in front of America and saying, hey, OSHA rule, if you have over 100 employees, they have to be vaccinated or be subjected to, keep in mind, still a medically invasive procedure every single week. People should be pissed off about this. People should be standing up and pushing back solely on the fact that the government doesn't fear the people anymore, and Joe Biden thinks that he has any room to stand in front of America and speak to us this way.
He talks to us like he's an angry grandpa. Like, literally, I am losing patience with you. When are you going to clean up your toys? Exactly. That's his vibe.
I'm like, Joe Biden, my guy, I'm losing patience with you, okay? Relax. You need to calm it down. And that's the thing. The average American is now starting to become like Australians, where they think that the government gives us our rights, not we're
born with them.
With these rights, that their government mandated, if you will. And so that's why Joe Biden speaks to us this way, and the average American is fine with it. And I'm like, bro, get angry about this, because the government should not be. It's like, we wouldn't let a man disrespect us that way, would we, Chrissy? No. That's how I
used to. For years, I would be like, any man is paying attention to me. What? I have to go visit you in Queens, and you'll never come to Brooklyn? Well, let's keep dating.
It's totally fine. I'll grab it in the exact same situation. Let me tell you. But see, now that our confidence is higher, we would never allow a man to speak to us that way. Same thing with the government. Don't let the government speak to you this way. Who the hell does Joe Biden think he is? He's nobody.
People are so afraid. You really don't have to be so afraid. And I think it's like part of this is like, yeah, if you're glued to the mainstream media, but also most of us have not had to fight for anything like this in our lifetimes. So we don't know that like we have to fight.
Exactly.
We just keep thinking, oh, well, if we keep obeying, this will be over soon.
And that's what it is, girl. Like, we've lived such a spoiled life in America. Even the poor people in this country live a better life than the people in third world countries.
People on welfare are cleaning up. They have better sneakers than I have.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's just we're so spoiled in this country, and that's why the government has been able to come in and take over like they have, because they know that the average American all they care about is their Netflix subscription and eating a freaking bag of Cheetos and chilling and collecting their government check, and those are the easiest people to take over and slowly kind of slip in socialism into our country that way. Like, oh, it's cool, dude. Like, we're gonna pay for your bills. You don't have to worry about getting evicted. The only person that's gonna have to worry about that is your landlord, who's actually paying the bills, but that's not on you. Don't even worry about it. Just keep watching Netflix. Don't worry about going back to work.
And don't worry, because all the liquor stores are all open, because that's called an essential place of business.
Hey,
not your
alcohol
church.
Is essential, all right? No, but true. Like, people
there's so much behind. The people who still think your government cares and loves you, like, no way. I just can't believe they're pushing this so hard and so desperately. It's like, oh, it's already out that like even if you have the vaccine, you can still get it. Like, that fact alone, you would think they'd pull back on, but they're going even harder. They're doubling, tripling down on this.
No, and people are like, yeah, I guess I'll get the booster shot. It's because of the variants. It's very scary. It's very scary. I just want to get back to normal. And if everyone in society had just listened to the government, last 2 years ago, we wouldn't be in this situation. And it's like, no, I'm pretty sure we would, because look at Australia, where people are forced to listen to the government over there, and they're still locked down. Why? Because of what, like one case?
Oh, God. Yeah. Like 1 or 5 cases.
Yeah. There's like a couple of cases over there, and they're all locked down. They're forced to listen to their government over there, whereas we still kind of have the option here. But it's like, look at the countries then that are being forced to listen to their government, and look at how that government is still treating them.
Yeah. Is it helping? Like, is your obeying harder getting you closer to getting your life back?
Absolutely not.
I think Australia is like really in deep with the deep state. Like, I just feel like they're a test ground.
Australia is wild, and I talk to Australians all the time, and I'm just like, hey, how are y'all doing? And they're like, please come save us. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. This is why.
You had time.
Don't give up your guns, guys. This is why. This is why. Not calling for violence. I'm just calling, I'm kind of just, this is what happens when guns are taken away from the people, the people who are supposed to be running their country, as opposed to the politicians who think that, what they say is Bible.
How often do you get like so overwhelmed and stressed out just between like your own podcast, working here? I admire the way you're able to shift gears from being like behind the camera, pushing all the buttons. Like, there's so many screens back there and so many buttons. Like, I immediately kind of zone out. But like the way you're able to bounce behind the camera and in front of the camera, and you're a force in front of the camera. Which came first, or did you kind of have to learn to do both at the same time?
I think both at the same time, because when I was with Alex initially really wanted me to report, but when I first started working for Alex, I didn't even know the 3 branches of government, so I was an idiot, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I started doing behind the scenes work a little bit, and then I just started doing them both at the same time, and I've always done them at the same time. And I don't know, I just enjoy both. I really enjoy producing great content. I enjoy, making high quality shows for people to watch, but then I also enjoy being in front of the camera, because I am very passionate about this, because I've gone out and again I've gone and talked to Americans, and I think that a lot of people are scared to talk about these issues or be as hardline and extreme as I am in regards to my rhetoric, because of the different layers that society has placed. And as a brown woman, okay, those are 2 things on my side that do make it very easy for me to be as aggressive as I am in society. Again, even with the face mask thing, people don't come up to me and tell me to put a face mask on because of my skin tone. Verifiable, has happened multiple times.
But why not use all of your strengths, even if that's one of them?
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, I do have the strengths and I have the leverages in society because of the way that society has just straight up, idolized brown and black people in today's age. So that's why I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to leverage that to my advantage and then be as open about speaking about these issues that other, I guess, white people wouldn't be allowed to, talk about or say. So I'm like, okay, then I'll do it. So, very passionate about a lot of things, which is like why I like being in front of the camera, but I also really enjoy production because pressing buttons is super fun.
That's amazing. It's amazing that you can do both, and it makes you really self-sufficient, and it's admirable for sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Chrissie.
It was funny. We were like having a laugh today on Elijah's show because Elijah was like, "You're not speaking up enough, like Savanah. Yeah. Why aren't you chiming in more?" And again, there was like a lot of, male energy, and like Doyle kind of tends to dominate every conversation he's in.
He's a very smart boy.
He's a very smart boy. He's just high speed. And you were like, I don't participate more because every time I start to say something, Doyle rolls his eyes. And I was like, yes, he does that, because I'm sitting right across from him. And I feel like I'm in the middle of a sentence and I see him like... And then I like lose confidence and I'm like, this 21-year-old little snot,
No, and that's what that was the thing. It's like, yes, John is very smart, but he's also very much misogynistic. And I'll say that because he's self-described like a sexist. So it's like, okay. And I fought with John on the show, but that's what it is. It's like, Elijah, I don't come in on these subjects because, one, I don't like talking about racially divisive things. I don't think it's helpful. So I'm not going to have anything conducive to add to this conversation. And on top of that, I'm just going to call out John, and he is a very intelligent intelligent boy, and he is going to be able to combat a lot of the points that I have, because my main point in regards to when they talk about, racially divisive rhetoric is basically, hey, you can't blanket statement and say that all people are like this. Granted, they do bring up a lot of the statistics about it, but for me, it's just like, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to bring it in because my attitude will come out, and I don't like talking about these issues, and I specifically don't for this reason, because I'm just going to end up being like, bitch, shut the fuck up, which is not a nice thing to say. So,
and it's almost like, I don't know, like he's a little bit like intimidating in some ways, but like in life ways, like he hasn't lived a lot of actual life, and I feel like some of his misogyny is just like, I'm like, someone hurt you, or like maybe that's a guard, like maybe that's something he puts up to protect himself. Well, because nobody wants someone of the opposite sex to like hurt them or hurt their heart.
Yeah, that's true.
And I wonder if it goes like a little deeper for him.
I don't know. You should have him on and talk to him about that for CNC. Delve into John Doyle's love life and see what happened to him. We got to get down into the details of it.
Deep with Doyle.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure many people would love that. He has a lot of simps, but they're all male.
You have a lot of simps.
I do. I have a lot of simps. It really, makes me super happy when I spend like 3 hours researching things for my show and people are like, "That's pretty." Like, thank you.
Really? But it's still
Thank
nice.
you so much.
I mean, I research for my show. I still like reading that people think I'm pretty. Like,
no, totally. It actually is really nice. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm cute. My parents love it. It's so funny, dude. My dad's the cutest. So he wakes up at like 3 a.m. every morning because he works in trucking. He works in the oil field. And I usually do my show pretty late because, Elijah's show is priority. This is my main job. I love working here. And so to make sure that I'm utilizing, every single part of my day for this and making sure we're doing as much as we can here, I don't do my own show until like 11 p.m., 9 p.m.
That's late.
Yeah, it's pretty late. And so my dad wakes up at 3, but he still watches every single one of my live streams. He's such a sweetheart.
God.
Yeah, I love him to death. And he always moderates the chat and the simps, and he makes sure that they're not saying anything nasty. He is, because he would get mad. He was like, people are saying really nasty things in these comments. I need to be a moderator now. And I was like, okay, Dad. So he watches every show and he moderates. He's so sweet.
So he gets a little wrench in his name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so he's a part of the chat now. And I used to tell him, I'm like, Dad, stop talking to strangers on the internet. But now the chat loves Dad. Every single time I go on a show, I have to shout him out. And so he gets shout outs on every show, and he loves it. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
What do you find you like talking about most on your podcast? Like, what are themes you keep coming back to?
COVID, of course, the one thing that is a big no-no to talk about on YouTube. But that's what I like to talk about because I think that a lot of people are kept in the dark about this issue. And again, I don't love being divisive. So I like to talk about issues where it's like, hey, this is something that's affecting all of us regardless of skin tone, okay?
And regardless of like left or right, at this point, it's like, and that's what I just really would love people to come together on.
Exactly. And so that's my thing. And so I like to talk about issues that are affecting everybody. For example, Joe Biden's leadership, the mandates that are currently across the country, the border issue, and whether you're on the left or the right, the border issue is still affecting you. And one of the things that I do like to bring up as well is, hey, we are all still being locked down in this country. But if you look at what's going on at the border, it's wide open. And I believe that there's 8,000 Haitian migrants currently at the border in Del Rio, Texas.
Haitian?
Right now. They're Haitian.
We don't hear about that at all.
We don't hear about that at all. We don't hear about all of the illegal immigrants. I believe it was 200,000 illegals came over last month.
Whew.
Yeah, so there's quite an influx happening right now. But guess what? We're not monitoring COVID at the border at all. We're just going to keep the average American locked down that's trying to keep their business open. That's who's going to have to be punished for said rising numbers.
It's infuriating. When were you at the border? That was just a couple months ago, right?
It was, I can't even remember the exact month.
Was
but
it
was
April?
A couple months. Yeah, I want to say April. April, May. I went with my good friend.
If we talked about it the last time you were on, but I was like really impressed. I was like, you're down there. You're rolling up your sleeves. You're talking to people.
Girl, that's what you got to do. That's why I'm so passionate about these things, because I go and I talk to the people directly affected by this, and that's something that's sorely lacking in the media. Is reporters going and asking residents of McAllen, Texas, of Del Rio, like, hey, what is your daily life like here? What's going on? No one's talking to business owners and watching them cry as they've had to give up their entire life dream and everything they've sacrificed because the government forced them to shut down for 2 years. Nobody is talking to the angel moms whose children were murdered by illegal immigrants who shouldn't have been in this country to begin with. No one's talking to them. Nobody's highlighting them. No one's talking to, the young boy who was suffering now from myocarditis because he got the vaccine and he will deal with heart inflammation now and, probably heart complications for the rest of his life. Nobody is speaking to those people. And so if you actually go and you speak to them, it hits way different than just reading a headline.
I feel like that's where I see you doing the bulk of your interviewing. Like if you can pull that off and like access these folks, like I don't know, like when you were down there, I'm imagining you going door to door, but like you were at the border, were you able to talk to a lot of locals, or was it just like you were there observing, vans pulling up?
So we were doing that, but then what ended up happening is my contact down there, he actually owns property past the actual border wall. It's not in Mexico, it's just past the border wall. And so I was speaking with him and just listening to these horror stories that he was telling me about children being abandoned, of little babies being thrown in the Rio Grande, of the crime and what's happening on the border right now. It's just horrific stories. And then I got to speak to a woman who's running for Congress in McAllen as well. Her name is Mayra Flores, and she's been a resident down there for her whole life. And she, has told me the stories of other of her constituents, or, people who she's hoping will be her constituents, and then her own story being a local and everything that's been happening, the rising crime rates, how dangerous it is for, children to play on the streets of their city because of all of the people that are coming in that shouldn't be, because there's no protection in the border over there for them.
Do you feel like your empathy, like it's clear that you have such empathy for these people? Like, when did that start? Did that kind of start while we were working for Alex Jones?
Definitely, because I would go do Man on the Streets, and that's what a lot of people don't know. And I think we did talk about this a little bit on your last show, is I would go do Man on the Streets, and I would go to anti-Trump protests to go ask them why they hated Trump, because they could have had the opportunity to change my mind, but it ended up becoming a lot more right-wing and pro-Trump because I went and talked to them.
You turned people.
No. They turned me to a right-winger because I would go talk to liberals, and they couldn't tell me why they hated Trump. They couldn't tell me why they hated Republicans or right-wingers. And so in my own brain, the wheels started turning, and I was like, why would I want to be a part of the side that doesn't even know what they're advocating for? Like, what's going on in this country? And so that's what really made me more right-wing. And then I actually did start empathizing with a lot of liberals to begin with, because I realized that they have been lied to so much and manipulated so much that they're out in the street protesting Donald Trump at 3 p.m. in Texas in 90-degree heat, and they don't even know why they're out there.
Like, sweating burns calories.
I know. I'm like, ew, I would never protest someone willingly in the hot sun if I didn't know why I hated them. So
funny. Did you hear about CBS was going to do a competition show called The Activist?
I did.
It was I think it's still going to happen, but now they're sort of transitioning it into a documentary special.
Interesting.
This is an article in Variety. Like, supposedly, we got it wrong, said Global Citizen, one of the show's producing partners, offering a mea culpa in response to the arguments that activism should not be portrayed as competition. Really, when everything in society encourages it to be a competition, really? The black square? The pronouns, you need to have pronouns in your bio, you need to have BLM in your profile.
I know. I didn't even think about that, Chrissy. That's such a great point. How activism nowadays is such a, it's a photo op basically. Like,
it's points. It's like a soft social credit score that we enforce on ourselves.
Where did they go? Hello? Guys, are you still relevant?
A couple of the chicks in charge bought mansions, and then they were like, oh, well, I'm just doing this so I can pass on generational wealth to my own people.
We're going to take our millions and go. R.I.P. Black community. Sorry. We should have helped you out a little bit more, but we didn't. We're not going to either.
Usher, Julian Ho, or Hugh, gosh, how do you pronounce it? And Priya. Who?
Julian Ho.
And Priyanka Chopra Jones were announced as hosts late last week. Usher, that was a song that was playing in my car when I got into my first major car accident.
Oh.
Yeah, and it's like, it was that song, yeah. Boo, doo, doo, doo.
Dude, that's kind of the terrifying thing about car crashes that people don't realize.
You remember them so vividly.
And your car speakers just keep going. Like your car speakers have no idea that you just, been through a horrific event and Usher's just still blaring and you're like, car, please respect what just happened.
I got into 2 car accidents when I was 20 years old. One was, it was in the summer and I was driving. My kids had a diving me because I was a diving coach for many years. Like I started at 17. I think I was like one of the youngest lifeguards to get a coaching position because I knew my shit. Like I can be cocky about a few things, and like diving and coaching was one of them.
Nice.
So I got this job at 17, but it was 20. I was like driving to a meet. Like I was distracted. I had Usher. Obviously, I'm gonna blame Usher for this. Actually, mostly.
Damn you, Usher.
Usher was blaring, and I just went through a traffic light.
Oh my gosh!
A traffic light and T-boned a guy.
Ugh.
I was so lucky that there was no one else. Like that there was no one in the passenger seat because like I don't know, God was there because it all worked out, and I think we paid off the guy for his car.
Sorry, guy.
Sorry, guy.
Sorry, I'm
if
glad
you're
nobody got
listening,
hurt.
I'm really sorry about that, but yeah. And then I got into another fender bender just like 3 months later when I was going to college. Like the car hydroplaned, but since then I haven't had an accident in like 18 years.
Knock on wood.
Maybe it's because I mostly just take the train, but.
That could be a factor.
I do have a new car. It's a clergyman died, and I got it through a friend of a friend. So I have an old clergyman's car, and I had there, and no one cleaned this car out. There was wine in the door. There's funeral parking signs in there. There's a clergy. I was like, this is like a time capsule.
Interesting.
It's very much.
You would drive that, Chrissy, of course. Your car has to be as unique as you are.
Yeah, and there was a very much like printed out American flag, like washed out from the sunlight in the back of the back windshield.
Nice. Always have to have the American flag decal. That's a classic.
So that's gonna be my whip, and that's what I'm gonna drive to Jersey to, because that'll be the only place where I can do shows. So, but it's just so interesting. Like, we're so shocked that. Activism shouldn't be a competition. It makes me laugh because everything about it is a competition.
Everything in society is a competition, really. Like, vaccination status at this point, how much money you make, social status.
How many activists would be activists if they couldn't brag about it on social media? If there was no social media, I'd be very curious to see how many people are willing to like put in that work.
Yeah, like actually care about the cause that they're promoting. AKA BLM. It's like you guys were huge last year. You were trending all the time. And I really don't see the advocacy for that anymore now that it's not popular.
And does it just is this just like what happens to every generation? It's like you see enough election cycles to go by to know when BLM is a hot topic and when it's not?
Essentially. That's pretty much the basis of what happens.
We're all just destined to be like old, cynical little biddies.
Yeah. I see I'm getting there. I've seen what I needed to see. I've done what I needed to do. Start the rapture. I'm ready to go.
I want to remain hopeful. I think that they're pushing it so hard and they're sort of like frazzled. Like the elites are so frazzled. I think it's because they weren't expecting this much pushback and they had to throw out millions of unused vaccinations. So that's kind of comforting.
Yeah, I think those ones were AstraZeneca vaccines, were they?
Ooh.
I can't remember. But
AstraZeneca, one of them had like metal bits in it. Floating around.
Yeah. There was, they just did that in Japan. They had to recall 1.6 million Moderna shots because there was metallic particles in them, which seems kind of dangerous to me. But I don't know. That's just a personal opinion.
You know what probably has never been had to. What was the word you said to take something back? Oh, recall. Like they're not recalling, vitamin D, zinc, sunlight, echinacea.
Yeah. Just some of those things that'll actually keep you healthy. You know what, Chrissy? So I'll say this too really quickly because we're talking about health. I'm currently sick right now. I know. Not with COVID, I don't think. I don't know. I didn't get tested.
Turns out you can have things other than the Rona.
But I'm sick right now. I haven't been sick in 3 years. The last time I got sick, I wasn't at peak health, so I felt so bad for like a full week. This sickness, I immediately took supplements. I've just been going to bed early. I haven't eaten any sugar, and I haven't taken a day off. I'm chilling, and I'm at peak health right now. Like I've been supplementing. I take greens every morning. I go to the gym every single day, and this sickness, it feels just like I'm a little fatigued. That's literally the only difference I feel.
Yeah, because you're hot and you're healthy.
No, dude, but that's the thing. It's kind of crazy to me, having been sick previously, not super healthy, and being sick as a healthy person. It feels so different. It feels so different. It's kind of crazy. And,
like it's less severe.
Yeah, it really is. It's like I don't feel amazing, but I can still go about my daily life. I've still been, working out, which is from home, and I feel fine. And it's just kind of crazy how when your body is healthy, you can recover from things so much better, and you can feel so much better about a multitude of things, whether that's an actual sickness or anxiety, depression, take your pick.
Yeah. And it's funny that it's come to the point where it's like, oh, we need to have studies. Oh, look, if you run a little bit, that'll decrease your anxiety. It's like the stuff that has become common sense, like I think the powers that be are so desperate for us to lose our common sense that we need to go to the mainstream media and the government for everything. Even we can't even think for ourselves. We can't even put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, girl, I'm so big into health. I advocate for that too. I really want to get well, I actually have a separate Instagram called Tranquil Sav, just because I'm such a psychopath.
Sav.
I know. I have a whole separate Instagram account because I'm a whole psychopath on my other one.
Is it thirst traps? I hope it is.
But no, dude, it's literally just me advocating for health, because we do live in a society right now that's so riddled with anxiety, depression. Everyone's on big pharma pills, and everyone's sick, right? Over the past 2 years, we're living through a pandemic of fear. That's what I think. And I just advocate for a healthy lifestyle, dude. I took my first ice bath a month ago.
I'm looking at that picture right now.
Yeah.
You're in a big tub full of ice.
It was 30-degree water. It was so cold. Took my first ice bath. I'm really big into Wim Hof, so I do breathing exercises every morning.
I've been curious about him.
Dude,
what are your breathing exercises like?
So I do 3 rounds, and you do, I believe, like 30 really deep breaths. And then you hold your breath. And Wim Hof, actually, and the reason I follow him is because he was injected with E. coli, and scientists, they observed his body, and he basically fought the virus off with nothing but ice therapy, because he's big on, ice baths and cold therapy, cold showers.
Because it jumps your system into like working.
I guess so. I can't remember like scientifically how he was able to, but they basically injected this man with E. coli, and via ice therapy and breath work, he was able to combat the virus. And then so it's crazy. Look that up to all of your listeners. Wim Hof is amazing. So
yeah, Michaela Peterson interviewed him, and he's been on my radar ever since.
Yeah, you need to look him up. He's awesome. I take cold showers because I felt sick. I took a cold shower. I did breath work. I felt amazing right after. I'll probably go home and do that. Any single time I'm feeling a lot of anxiety, depression, or just straight up tired, cold shower peps you right up, because when you're in ice or in the cold, you're not thinking about how depressed you are. You're like, damn, this is cold as shit. I don't want to be doing this. And then you have to like force yourself. It forces you to be in the moment, which is a really powerful thing. And then afterwards, dude, you feel so accomplished, because you're like, damn, I was in fight or flight mode for the first minute of my day, because Wim says to wake up and jump in a cold shower.
Really?
Because it puts you into fight or flight mode. And so if you start your day off in that mindset already, there's nothing that's going to be bad about your day. There's nothing that's going to be worse than that.
You've already overcome freezing.
Yeah, you've already overcome a very difficult thing in your day. So it kind of jumpstarts everything.
Plus, it takes care of your boner.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a dick, that might help. I don't know. I don't have one.
You're like, darn, I just want to get rid of this morning wood and center myself. Hop in that cold shower.
It could probably help with that too. But yeah, dude, lots of health benefits to it. So absolutely love Wim. And I've been following like David Goggins, Robin Sharma, a lot of other mentors who just talk about callousing yourself mentally and just becoming really mentally hard, because I think that self-help in our society too, it's become very soft and like, oh, you're amazing. Like
just talking about feelings, which is just one part of it.
Exactly. But I think that the reason why we have so much anxiety in society today is because we're such a soft society where everyone is like, here's your participation trophy. You're amazing. You're the best. You're extraordinary. And it's like, maybe you're not extraordinary. Maybe you need to do better. Okay, Chrissy? Maybe you need to make your podcast more amazing. No, it's already peaked. You can't go up. You're
I already
peaked.
know. Like, I went to the gym with Kez. She took me to her gym today, and I'm so embarrassed. I joke about my podcast body all the time, which I'm now committed to working on. I don't want someone to look at me and go, oh, that girl has a podcast. No, but like we were doing all this cardio, and I was like, oh my God, my lungs are really working for the first time in like embarrassingly a couple months. So I was like, oh. And I know that like I'll be back in a month. Like I was an athlete in college. Like it's a good problem to have, right? Because like I've been busier, more things are happening, which is great. But
definitely.
yeah, you got to make time for yourself. Savanah, where can people, other than following you on Instagram at tranquil_sav and checking out Rapid Fire on Apple, Spotify, and Podbean, where else can people find you?
People can find me on my bigger Instagram account at Sav with one N. That's SAV, the number one. Wait, SAVWITH, the number one N. My handle's super confusing.
Sav with one N.
But that's my bigger Instagram account. And then Gab, Savanah Hernandez, and then savsaysofficial.com. That's my website where I basically, I research a lot, and Google likes to kind of hide some interesting articles sometimes, makes it harder for
Really?
for
Google
people to
censoring
find.
interesting articles.
So on my website specifically, I have a research page dedicated to linking all of those articles about various topics that might be a little bit difficult to research.
I like that you're being so careful right now.
I know. But savsaysofficial.com, go check my work out there. And Slightly Offensive, of course, too. I produce Slightly Offensive with Elijah Schaefer. We do 2 podcasts a week, and I like kind of co-host / I'm on both episodes with, our great guests that we have on. So that's where everyone can follow me.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope to see you on, I think you're going to be doing Elijah's new show soon.
Mm-hmm. You were here. Yeah, go check that out too. You were on that show.
I was on it.
And you've been on Slightly Offensive all week. You've been making it so fun.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I appreciate that so much. It is fun. And I know this set looks similar to Slightly Offensive, but it is not. No.
It's not. We are not on the Slightly Offensive set in the broom closet. That's not what's happening right now.
We're on the somewhat offensive. No. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Savanah, it was so great to talk to you again.
Thanks, Chrissy.
You're a doll. You're a delight. I'm really proud of the woman you're turning into. Now I sound like your aunt.
Thanks, Mom. Thank you.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Bye. Okay, that's good.
Okay, perfect.
I completely forgot to do my ad reads.
Okay.
Whoops. That was good. We definitely went long enough.
Oh. Yeah, that was good, girl. You're so fun to talk to.
I feel like very ineloquent sometimes, but I also am not feeling so great right now.